Hello everyone, it's Nicole with DrishTi Community Wellness, and today I want to talk about breath. So when we do our asana practice, we always want to be breathing, always. We want to go back to the breath. While we're practicing, if we take a moment to pause and we notice we're not thinking about the breath, we want to go back there. So when I say breath, what kind of breath am I meaning? Well, usually this would be the Ujjayi breath. And sometimes we scale it back if we're more at a beginning stage. But the Ujjayi breath is the breath, the pranayama practice to go to for your practice. If you just catch your breath during the day, or even right now, it'll be harder to catch it because we're talking about it. But you may notice it's a little shallow. And if it's shallow, it's not as slow and it's not as deep. With the Ujjayi breath, we lengthen and we fill more. So shallow breath kind of sits up here in the upper chest, but we're aiming for a low down in the belly with the Ujjayi. We're also aiming for a full inhale and a full exhale. So let us practice this together. Okay, I'm going to talk us through this a couple different ways because it's kind of hard to talk and do it at the same time. So let's start first with the explanation or the verbal instruction. So on the inhale with Ujjayi, you want to be breathing in through the nose. And when you inhale, the belly should always exhale. You could even keep your hands there. You should always move out into your hands. Think about inhale, filling. So always should move out. That's one thing you may notice. Your belly doesn't always move. Maybe it's your upper chest that does, especially if you're used to breathing that way. So by putting your hands on low belly, it can help. And you may not get down there completely to start, but we want to practice deeper breaths. So the first part of Ujjayi is an inhale through the nose. The second part is a pause. You'll inhale. When you reach the peak of your inhale, there's a little pause. Then we exhale. Exhale also happens through the nose, and your belly will contract or move in. And again, you can keep your hands there for the practice. After you've exhaled completely, which is new for a lot of us, there's a little pause, barely, because it's fluid, the breath, in Ujjayi especially. And then we inhale and you just repeat through. So some other notes about the Ujjayi breath. You may have heard of it before, you may already practice it, but oftentimes it's referred to as Darth Vader breath because you can kind of hear it. But as a teacher, when I explain that, sometimes students will want to breathe louder than everyone in the room, and it's not necessarily how loud can you breathe. It's that the breath brings about a sound for yourself that sounds a little bit like that Darth Vader. Another way I like to explain it is sipping through a straw. You know, you can think of back when we used to use plastic straws, but now hopefully you're using something different, even paper. But if we could use that as an example, you know, when you bite down and you restrict some of the flow and you can really drink slower. I don't know if anyone has ever done that as a kid or maybe now. That's the idea of Ujjayi. So you want to breathe from the back of your throat, almost like closing it off a little bit. That way the breath is slow when you breathe in and slow when you breathe out. So if you just think about the back of your throat when you're breathing or that straw analogy, it can help. And when you do those two things, you might start hearing that sound of Ujjayi to yourself. Remember, the word means powerful. Remember, the word means powerful. So anytime, if you're feeling a little defeated, just stop, take some normal breaths, and then go back to the practice. So here, I'm going to do some Ujjayi breath without speaking much. And maybe you'll be able to hear, maybe I'll try to make it a little louder so you can hear. But again, that's not the goal. So you can go with your hands on your belly. Inhale through the nose. Exhale. Continue. Notice how after just a few rounds, you may feel more space between your brow and more sense of calmness. Try the practice for a few minutes yourself. Often, 99% of the time when I start class, we start seated, quietly, attention to the breath. Now that's bringing Ujjayi into practice, at least at some point. Because when you start your asana, the physical practice, you want to have the Ujjayi there. It'll guide you through your practice. Remember I said it means powerful? Well, it brings power into the practice. You should feel powerful in every pose during yoga. Even if you're just starting and it's very difficult, or you're not just starting and it's very difficult, it lets you know when to back off a little bit so you still have that element of you are worthy, you are powerful, instead of the opposite, negative thoughts and feeling defeated. So throughout your practice, you want to be breathing in through the nose, out through the nose, with the Ujjayi breath. And when a teacher says, or I say here on these videos, rise with an inhale, that's your initial inhale. But you can exhale whenever you're ready. It's just when we begin that movement, we're inhaling or exhaling, but you never want to hold. Keep it flowing. And by the end of class, you most likely will feel lighter, more aligned, because you're breathing in alignment with the Ujjayi. You're breathing completely. You're getting more oxygen. You're exhaling completely. And that's a big part of why people feel so good after yoga, is aligning with the breath. So I hope that helps a bit. Remember to practice this going forward. Go back to some previous videos. Do those with the Ujjayi breath. Drop a comment below. Let me know how the practice feels different with the Ujjayi breath for you. Make sure to like this video, subscribe for notifications, especially in the beginning here when I'm just starting this out. It's nice to know that I'm speaking to someone. Namaste, friends.